I'm feeling honored that I'm being chosen as a Nobel laureate, and I have been honored with this precious award. It is the Nobel Peace Prize.
Growing up in Mississippi, my prayer was, for as long as I can remember, God, use me. Use me, use this life. I don't know what the future holds for me, but I know that there is a vision for my life that is greater than my imagination can hold. Use me, use me. What would you have me to do? And that dream, that desire, that prayer brought me somehow to television.
May it remind me and every little child that no matter where you're from, your dreams are valid. Thank you.
If we stop defining each other by what we are not and start defining ourselves by who we are, we can all be free.
I am grateful to have been loved and to be loved now and to be able to love, because that liberates. Love liberates.
So rock bottom became the solid foundation on which I rebuilt my life. You might never fail on the scale I did, but some failure in life is inevitable. It is impossible to live without failing at something, unless you live so cautiously that you might as well not have lived at all, in which case you fail by default.
Of rape and sexual violence as a weapon of war once and for all. We really can do it.
You're willing to work for it, then we must work like never before.
One child, one teacher, one book, and one pen can change the world.
There is one message that echoes forth from this conference. Let it be that human rights are women's rights and women's rights are human rights once and for all.
دوستان، به برنامه مادر و کودک خوش آمدید. برنامه‌ای که در چارچوبش پرورش صلح، آموزش صلح، نهادینه کردن صلح در خانواده، در فرد، در جامعه، در مدارس، در اون زندگی و زندگی نامه‌ای که ما هر تک تکمون تجربه می‌کنیم نهفته هستش و همواره من از طریق صحبت‌ها، گفتمان‌ها، گفتگوهایی که با دوستان، عزیزان، هنرمندان، محققین، نویسندگان و زنان و مردان و مادران و پدران بسیار پرشهامت که هر روزه تلاش و کوشششون برای آوردن بیشتر آزادی و صلح و آرامش در جامعه هستش، افتخار من هستش که این برنامه رو تقدیم حضورتون میکنم و همواره در رابطه با این گفتمانها ما دل باز و فکر باز و به اصطلاح با آگاهی بیشتر قدم میذاریم و تهیه میکنیم. امروز برنامه‌ای که براتون تهیه کردیم برنامه بسیار جالبی هستش در رابطه با دو دید، دو فکر، دو زندگی، دو نگاه، دو اندیشه برای به اصطلاح کانکت کردن، رابطه برقرار کردن بین دنیای صلح و عشق و آرامش و دنیای کودکان، نوجوانان و به خصوص دختران ما و اینکه چرا همواره شاید اینجا یا شاید اونجایی که شما هستین برای دختران و پسران حق تساوی هستش، شاید حقوق اونها یکسان هستش، شاید به عنوان عنوان به اصطلاح محیطی که درش هستن استعدادهاشون همواره به صورت تساوی جلو میره، ولی در خیلی از جوامع و خیلی از خانواده ها و خیلی از موقعیت ها دختران و پسران این تساوی و حقوق تساوی و یا این اپورتونیتی هایی که به صورت تساوی تجربه بشه براشون نیستش. بنابراین به عنوان یک مادر، به عنوان یک پدر، مسئولیت ما امروزه این هستش که مطمئن باشیم این توجهمون، این نیتمون برای آوردن برابری و تساوی بیشتر برای هر دو به اصطلاح نسل مؤنث و مذکر، نسل دختران و پسران آیندهمون یک جور باشه. و چرا نه حالا که آقایون و مردان این قدرت و این اپورتونیتی و این فرصت ها رو داشتن برای سالهای زیاد، چرا نه حالا این فرصت ها رو برای دخترانمون بیشتر به وجود نیاریم. بنابراین برای این چرا نه و چرایی این موضوع دو عزیز گرامی اینجا خواهند بود. این گفتمان مامتاکمون رو دنبال میکنیم که چرا نقش هنر، نقش آزادی، نقش آگاهی، نقش کانشسنس برای زندگی کردن امروزه اساسی هستش. میبایست ما توجه و نیتمون رو بذاریم روی اینکه how do we cultivate peace learning, love and character. با ما باشید. یک ویدیوی خوب و به اصطلاح دلانگیز رو تماشا می‌کنیم از این هنرمند عزیز پانتا و بعد برمیگردیم با میهمانانمون با شما خواهیم بود.
Baby, come over. There's so much I need to say. Baby, come closer. I haven't seen you in a day. Baby, come over. It's been so hard to stay away. Easy to say, come closer. A fix of you will make my day. You see, I've been enough alone, know how it always goes. You coax me in to stay, my weakness for your shows. I fight to stay away, but you turn to 50 shades. Now time sinks in on me. The only words I'll say are oh, 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 come over. Oh, 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 come closer. I'm saying oh. Trying this new way, separate lives and separate things. I'm choosing the hard way, regardless of the pain it brings. Setbacks and struggles, an endless circulating ring. But baby, come closer. The bird in me won't spread its wings. You see, I've been enough alone. Know how it always goes. You coax me in to stay. My weakness for your shows. I fight to stay away. You turn to 50 shades. Now time sinks in on me. The only words I'll say are oh, 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 come over. Oh, 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 come closer. I'm saying oh. I'm singing, oh, 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 come over. I'm singing, oh, 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 come closer. Come closer. Oh, 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 come over. Oh, 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 come closer. I'm singing, oh, 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 come over. I'm singing, oh, 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 come closer.
Awesome. That's Pontea, everyone. Such an honor to have you in the studio, Pontea. Hello, my dear. Hello.
Hi, it's so good to be here.
We had a little chat behind the scenes, and it was so sweet. I was just letting everyone know that Pontea has been working with my little girls, and the way she's taught them in such short time to find their voice, to connect to their inner voice, to work on their inner voice, and to cultivate playing and being playful, but also, you know, having good work ethics and working hard and pushing to those places where perhaps it's a new territory, it's a new development. So there you have a growth mindset, excited to explore and be curious and love the learning. And Pontea does it so gracefully, so beautifully, and you're firm, and you're a leader, and you're a mentor, and you cultivate peace in your way beautifully.
Wow.
So thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you for your beautiful words. I really appreciate that.
So tell us about your personal journey. I'm always interested to know, how did you get here? Give us a little bit of an inside sort of scoop into your life journey.
The world of Pontea.
The world of Pontea.
You know, I'll start with saying it hasn't been easy because I grew up in a Persian Jewish household. And our community is very tightly knit, and a lot of us are very conservative. And it's been a journey and a struggle of kind of breaking boundaries for women especially, you know. There are a lot of expectations imposed on us as females in my community and many other communities. So, you know, it's just kind of been this constant breaking the envelope a little bit, pushing the box out, being an artist, being free to be myself, and liberating others in liberating myself. So, you know, that's kind of been me in a nutshell. And as I find myself more and more, I become more and more authentic. And that shows through my music, when I write my music. And that shows when I'm teaching young girls to sing. And I'm connecting with them and watching them grow in front of my eyes. Like, I can use your girls as an example when I teach them, and I hear a transition in that exact moment. Because they're willing to grow, and because they're willing to say, okay, I can do better. And I'm glad you said that. I do mix the playful with the firm, and they receive it so beautifully. And I walk out of there every time saying, wow, I just connected. It was, so I mean, that was, you know, and then, anyway, so, I digress. But
no, that's beautiful. I love your story in that it started within a place of within you, and taking a risk, and having courage, and believing in yourself, and taking that next step, kind of getting rid of some of those labels and some of those boundaries. And for you to do that, and I know our community, I know how you know, some of those boundaries can be so tight and so rigid, and sometimes they can look scary and dark, and you're just so afraid to cross them. But for you to cross some of those boundaries, and to be here and talking about your journey and encouraging other girls to cross those boundaries, is just so empowering. I can't tell you how excited I am to hear that story, your life story, and you having the courage to share with other girls. And that's peace learning.
Yes.
That is peace learning. Sharing your courage, sharing your story, sharing your narrative, and joining in other I think, hands. Like Ali, we have our dear Ali Folz is joining us. Ali is an incredible writer, a very authentic and conscious writer. She's one of my favorite conscious media people, and I'm so honored to have you on Mom Talk again, Ali. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, tell us, does any of this, Pontea's story and what we're talking about resonates with you and your journey?
Yeah, absolutely. I was thinking that what I hear is all of us collectively wanting to really kind of get back to our roots and then be willing to expose what those roots look like. And you know, that's the whole idea behind writing the story that I wrote. And I can tell with Pontea too, you know, really it takes attention and mindfulness to spend more time learning about who you are versus kind of blending with your surroundings or, you know, accommodating for your culture. And so that I just feel like this conversation, your show, all of us being willing to share is really bringing attention to the importance of getting to our roots and then exposing what those look like.
Yeah, and you know, I'm always laser focused on the peace learning. In fact, I become very almost obsessive about finding those common threads that we share in that process. And it's so fascinating. The more focused I am and the more I meditate and concentrate and work towards it, the more collective experiences, you know, I have of similar stories, similar voices, similar passions, and it's almost like you become a peace magnet. You know, you start to attract like-mindedness, and it's wonderful. It's been such a beautiful journey.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and I think what we're really saying is that we are greater than our beliefs. You know, by our collective beliefs around us, we are, you know, who we are is bigger than so many of the paradigms that surround us all. And so when we realize that, I think there's an inner peace that begins to emanate. So I think peace learning really, I mean, I don't know, when I hear you say that, I think, yeah, it's like inner peace really comes when you realize that you are being authentic, even though wherever you are may not recognize it or understand it. I don't know. So
yeah,
and then still being at peace, you know, with that. But anyways,
and having the curiosity, the sort of that love and curiosity of learning, and the deepest and the depth of darkness and conflict and sorrow and pain and suffering. I think what Pontea was sharing about taking, you know, having courage to go beyond, to dance beyond, to go into the unknown. It is that important piece of the peace learning journey. And you know, just this week, for example, listening to families who've lost their beloved ones and this horrible tragedy, the Las Vegas, the Nevada massacre and the shooting, you know, in the deepest place, you know, the darkest place of sorrow and suffering and pain, I'm still curious. I'm still curious to know, well, you know, what part of this is elevating, is helping us evolve, you know, as human beings, as just citizens of the world, you know, to do something about it, to perhaps get a little more focused and serious on cultivating peace from the inside out, from the bottom up, from the families, within families, helping moms and dads find their sweet spot in self-compassion. Because, you know, I have to say, as a clinical psychologist, I have never encountered a family or anyone who's had self-compassion also have those aggressive, you know, fantasies or tendencies or, you know, the violence, the aggression. And you know, it's very, very rare. And so why not collectively stay focused on this task of cultivating character, peace learning, and helping each other. You know, I think when I look around and see families who are suffering, who are going through difficult times, even as subtle and small, why not go the extra step or the extra effort in bringing less suffering to them, in cultivating a little more peace into our friends' homes, you know, into our friends' lives. And I think it starts small. It starts with having these conversations with kids and their friends, the friendships. I mean, you work with a lot of children. You see this. Pontea, how do you cultivate self-compassion and peace with your kids?
I have nannied part-time, so yes, I have worked with a lot of kids. I've taught dance to children, and now that I'm doing vocal coaching. So yeah, I've had a lot of experience in being around children, and I really try to set the example, you know? So if there's a failure that happens in my life, I'll share it. If they, you know, didn't do as well in a game or in a match or something, I actually congratulate them for it. And I find that they react in a way that's like, oh, you know, you're not condemning my failure. It's kind of like, do you know how beautiful it is that you're able to fail and then grow and then become twofold better next time? And
beautiful.
I see that it really enhances an attitude change within these kids. Even with vocal coaching, when I see that, you know, they made a mistake or they didn't do it like we said we should do it, you know, I kind of say, great, now you can compare. And so all these things, it just helps you grow and evolve and learn and be at peace with every aspect of who you are. You know what I mean? Every aspect of who you are, the bad, the good, self-compassion. And when you have the self-compassion, it's so contagious, just like what you were saying, from the inside out.
Yeah.
Allie, your thoughts?
Well, yeah, there's so much to say there, but I was thinking about how basically, you know, for this, what happened in Las Vegas, and for what you were describing, Pontea, is when kids, you know, have what they think is a failure, there's something that breaks, you know, like my heart breaks for Las Vegas and for those who are in so much pain all the way around. And at the same time that it's breaking, you know, and I'm in pain, I feel like emanating greater love. So, you know, it's, I think being really, really comfortable in the paradox and being really open to not closing the doors to both pain and suffering, and also immense love at the same time, and being willing to hold in that moment. And then I think that's where self-compassion begins to bubble up from.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What do you want to say to families who are going through a lot of suffering right now, a lot of heartbreak? What can we share? What can we say so that we're cultivating a little more comfort, a little more warm-heartedness, a little more peace and peace learning?
I think the first things that come to mind is that, number one, to make sure you're surrounding yourself with people that you trust and that you can lean into. And then when you know that you have that, don't resist. I mean, don't resist any of the pain you might be feeling or the sadness. And I don't know, I wouldn't be afraid to lean into the pain. And, you know, that's what I would say. And I wouldn't try to hurry it up or mask it or name it something else or bypass it in some way. But again, being sure that you're surrounded by people who you trust and love. And in doing so, when you lean in, having the understanding that of your potential and the potential of the world, that even though you feel this way, you understand that deep within that there is healing going on as well.
Beautiful, beautiful. That's really heartwarming and a place to cultivate peace. I think as we come alongside each other as a community, as a nation, as just people who stand for peace and nonviolence and love, I think just collectively strongly communicating that we are with you. You're in our prayers. You know, we are trying to help in any ways we can. I know they have a GoFund that has been set up, so for those who like to donate and give and you know, show their care and compassion through financial support, you can also donate blood. I know you know, for some blood banks, they're setting up accounts where you can actually donate here and, you know, have it transferred. So giving blood, reaching out to families with notes and emails and letters of support, and just cultivating peace within your family. I think taking a moment of silence and peace to just think about what it means to be a compassionate and peace maker today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and Pontea, your thoughts? How to bring more solace and peace for some of these families who are suffering?
Are you referring to the Las Vegas shooting?
Yeah, the Las Vegas shooting.
Ooh. It's, for me, it's kind of unspeakable. I don't quite know what to say because it's...
Here you are at the concert.
So painful. Yeah. It's so painful, and I think now more than ever we need love. And now more than ever we need kindness and hugs, being there for each other, listening to each other, opening up possibilities for what you see for your life from now on.
I was listening to some of the stories, so people who are you know, fans of music, country music, teachers, mental health professionals, surgeons, students, accountants, secretaries, teenagers, moms and dads. These are people. These are lives who were just lost. I can't even get it around, you know, consciously. I can't even understand this. You know, why would someone with so much hate and such psychoses take such measures to hurt so many innocent people and to bring so much pain and suffering into this world? But I do know that a person who's been raised in a family with love, with connection, with attachment, with hope, with character, I know that that person will not be able to plan and take those steps to hurt so many people. So that I know. But how do we just make sense of this? It really is painful, very painful to me, even as a psychologist. You know, I tried looking at all the risk factors and tried to analyze it, but at some point it gets really painful, and you know, the suffering is overwhelming.
And I think I was thinking too that, you know, what can we do? I don't know, and I too have felt like pretty disassociated actually from the Las Vegas situation. Same. It's really for me even to imagine. But when I think about Nelly, the things that we have joined each other on and been a part of in terms of conscious parenting, how important it is to create connection. I think that what I can do or what you can do, like, is to practice that in our home, which is what we talked about a little bit earlier, and how important that connection is. I don't know if this person felt that, and so here we talk about it. I work harder today to connect with my kids, and I'm not great at it, but I'll try, and we'll have this conversation. And we'll bring attention to the value of connection. I mean, that's isn't that's an act of that's something we can do.
Yeah,
sounds so simple. It's, you know, not very, but it's true.
It's and to you know, continue with that is, you know, to make your children feel seen and validated and cared for, accepted for who they are, you know, not trying to change them into your idea of of who they should be, because they'll only grow to feel that they're not enough, and they'll never be enough. So that's, I think that's something we can really, especially in today's generation, build off. And there's social media happening, and so I find myself comparing myself a lot to other people, and I'm sure a lot of other people do the same. So we have to build from the home and kind of be like, you are enough, and I see you the way you are, and I love you for it, and you should love yourself for it too. And in schools, in schools, I feel like we can talk much more about mental health. Yeah. We can talk about all these mental health illnesses that are affecting people like those people, I feel like we don't talk about it enough. It's still a little bit taboo. The conversation is opening, and the conversation is happening. It can happen even more. It needs to be made priority. It needs to be made today is mental health day. This class is mental health, and not only mental health, puberty, sex,
absolutely,
family, relationships, being open with each other, and all these things. The more accepting you are, the less you feel hatred.
Yeah. And what can come out of those conversations? Imagine having more of these open conversations where children are exploring and being curious and having the same love of learning that they do for science and math and music and art, for mental health, for sexuality, for money talk. I mean, I think, honestly, time management, money management, like 100%. These life skills 100%. Where they can really get down and dirty and messy and have those real conversations. I know I do this with my kids, and sometimes I'm the outlier. I get the parents who roll their eyes and are like, I don't know, Dr. Nelly.
But you're not an outlier. I'm joining you.
But I think it's important. I think it's so valuable, and it brings so much substance. It's a big part of who these kids are, right? I mean, you work with kids. I'm starting to see, as tweens are evolving into this next generation, they're more aware. Yes. They have more information. The other day, my little one, my 8-year-old daughter is asking me about, what's a hickey, Mom?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so, somehow she saw a note or something, perhaps on, I don't know, Instagram or her sister's, social media curiosity. And so she's curious. So they are exposed. They're overexposed, and they're seeing things, and they're watching what's happening in the world. They have that broad perspective and scope. And so to neglect that, to not pay attention to it, dismiss it, and try to falsify it somehow, and not give them, age and stage appropriate information so that they can make sense of their inner worlds and who they are. And yes, these feelings are real. And yes, you are capable, you are empowered, you are able to tap into your courage and cultivate courage and bringing those real conversations. Yeah.
Can I say something real quick? You were talking about awareness, Nelly, and I think it's such a huge topic. So I thought about this with my girls. They are aware of so much, just like what you're saying. They are so much input, more input in their lives than I think ever, honestly. I have a 13 and 15-year-old girls. So it's so much awareness about the outside world, and what I feel this show is about, truly is about how much attention are we bringing to the inner world? How much awareness are you placing on your inner voice, your inner wisdom? What's your intuition telling you? And
yes.
There's and what does your voice want to sing? Those kinds of things. So you're right. How do we balance that? Because our kids are connected through social media. That's what their connections are looking like. But as an end result, the input is outstanding and so distracting. So I think that's a question in every household for every parent. How do we balance this? How do we? And I don't think we have answers. I'm not sure we're supposed to right now. We're the first generation to have to go through this.
Right.
That said, the arts, the vocal lessons, those kinds of things are certainly getting kids in touch. So we have to have these conversations. Even though we may not have the answers, I think we do have to have conversations with our kids that are directing them inward, like you're doing, Nelly, and we're I don't know, but we've got to counterbalance.
Yes.
Right? We've
Yes.
got to act.
And also trusting in each other. I think trusting in our parenting community, our mentors, like Pontea, she's a mentor to my girls. And I love that. It is that mentorship. It's the connection of real human connection, the stories that they share, the trust that cultivates in between their hearts and soul. I think honoring those relationships. So as a family, we have to be a little, not a little, actually a lot less overprotective, because, I'm speaking of myself, I come from a generation where perhaps 2 generations back, the grandparents were pretty protective, overprotective. And then my parents started understanding, the benefits of being less protective and allowing us to have a little more freedom. And I think with our generation, we have this beautiful opportunity to find that balance, that sweet spot where they can go and have these connections and relationships and cultivate these relationships that are going to be meaningful, that are based on mentorship, and really, getting to their best, finding who they are, and allowing that conscious space for them to be who they are without our interferences.
Absolutely.
And that's something I work on every day.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, just, back off. You're imprinting. You're doing too much. You're projecting, stop. That's my inner voice.
Projecting. That's
Projecting,
definitely
stop.
something that happens all the time.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, something I plan to do also as a parent is, kind of exactly that, is finding the delicate balance between letting them be and letting them flourish, but also making them feel like you're there. You're their rock. You are encouraging them. So, I do have a tendency to kind of be like, are you sure you want to go there today? So yeah.
We do. We're all mama bears.
I know, right?
But
watching you, it really encourages me to kind of find that balance of making them feel comfortable and yet free to explore and be themselves. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So, Allie, any stories, any delicious experiences, conscious parenting experiences you like to share with us?
Oh, God.
I call them the peace-alicious. Peace-alicious? Anything peace-alicious?
Well, I'm all for, brutal honesty. So I guess, I've had a tough couple years as a parent, and how would I say this? It's not been easy. I think I'm doing conscious parenting because I need to, not because I'm an expert at it. Because I think while we're talking about encouraging our kids to be self-aware, we can only do that if that's what we're doing ourselves. So I would say that I've been in a pretty raw space as a parent the last couple of years. My kiddos have just had a couple experiences that were pretty rough, and I've had to find who I am in response to that, and where is this coming from in me. So I guess I want to say that I think when we think of conscious parenting, it means that we're like super aware and that we're making really, easy decisions, and we're, that everything's going to go great. And sometimes when you're conscious of something that's really like the root of your own personal sense of abandonment or something, it's like awful. It's really painful. And yet we still need to parent, and we have to be strong. And so I guess when we talk about conscious parenting, I think what we're really saying is, to be real with who we are in the moment as a human being and as a woman.
Wow.
And then from that next step, really listening to your child and examining how you have tended to react in the past and how you're going to respond at this moment. And in my experience, that's not easy, but I'm determined. So I that's the best way that I can describe, to give you like some piece of myself, is that, I can write a book and I can talk about being self-aware and I can practice it daily. And the honesty, the most honest part is that that some days it's beautiful and some days it's ugly.
That's right. And that's the beauty of just self-compassion. I think that's one of the principles, is just allowing the good and the bad and the ugly, that they're all part of one, experience. Yeah,
and holding that, like how quickly we want to escape it, or how quickly we want to go into the habits that we've created to escape. And so if I can do that, and I can show my girls that I'm sitting in pain, but I know that I'm gonna be okay, then hopefully they know they can too.
Yes.
And
I have to say, as a therapist, we were traditionally trained to have a little more rigid boundaries with our clients. Then later, when I was teaching parenting classes, I was teaching parents to hold those boundaries a little more firmly. But after becoming a parent myself, after embracing and moving into this motherhood journey, especially the conscious parenting and the peace learning experience, I realized that sometimes those boundaries are not part of the growth mindset sort of experience. They're actually holding me back. They're holding back the therapeutic relationship to grow. They're holding back my parent-child relationship to grow. So I started taking a little more risk and having a little more courage to step into sort of the unknown and to be more responsive and to allow that growth to happen. And I have to say, it's been wonderful.
Wow.
It's been great. I've experienced so much growth. I've experienced so much joy and so much happiness. And it's more authentic. It's more real.
Yeah.
And,
I'm so curious. What's an example?
Yeah, I was actually going to ask the same thing.
So, for example, the psychologist part of me, let's just bring up the example of going through grief and loss. So when, as moms and individuals or dads, as parents, we're going through grief and loss, and this could relate to, for example, experiencing the grief from the Las Vegas shooting. So we have this experience. We could hold back. We could turn off the television. We could try to overprotect our children from not being exposed to this or not seeing, that we're sad. But then there's this other piece, and I do this now, only if authentically, organically it happens. So I don't initiate, but let's say one of my children, comes and sees me, I'm sad, I'm crying, or my heart is broken, or I'm going through an emotional moment. I don't hide it, I don't hold back. I try to unpack it and try to make sense of it for them through their eyes, but also share my experience of why I'm going through those sad feelings. And I have been just so in awe of their consciousness, the kids, their level of consciousness, or perhaps some of my clients, and how there's this beautiful dance, this mirroring, this cultivation of empathy that happens in those moments where I'm vulnerable. And it's beautiful. That experience encourages me to take a chance and have courage the next time. Yes. And so that's what I mean by finding courage in those times of vulnerability to connect, to share, and be authentic.
Yeah, and you're like busting down, like you're breaking down walls, really. I mean, it feels like in that instance you could create a wall that would, potentially in quote unquote protect, right? You and protect your child. But instead of that, it's like you're just breaking it down and you're creating a connection versus a boundary. I
have a question about that. So, with the example that you were talking about, Nelly, when you're sad, do you try to set the example, but I'll get better? Do you say that? Or is it kind of like you just allow yourself to be? Or because I would feel the tendency to kind of be sad, but also be like, but you know what, tomorrow's a new day, or like some sort of optimistic thing to make them feel like this too shall pass.
Yeah.
Would you do that, or do you just kind of stay in your moment and allow it?
You know, it depends. It really depends. I think there are times, and this is where your wisdom, your consciousness will guide you.
Okay.
I think you will know, and with experience, as you have more of these courageous moments, you know, you will find better ways to lead with your emotions and the as is, or the just being in that moment.
Right.
I always have this question in the back of my head, and this is probably the psychologist part of me, what's in the best interest of the child? So whose needs are being met? And I try to, whenever I'm conscious, and there are those moments where I'm unaware and you know, unconscious, that I lose my awareness, but in those moments I try to focus on what's in the best interest of the child.
Oh, that's
so
a good thought.
in that vulnerable moment,
yes,
how can I cultivate peace and bring more hope, and you know, build character there.
I see.
And sometimes it's tricky, you know, you miss, but this is the good news. The research shows if you are good enough and doing the right thing according to attachment parenting, or according to conscious parenting, or according to all these different peace learning prototypes or theoretical foundations. If you're doing 70% of the times the good enough parenting based on these frames, then it's going to work in your favor. You're going to win. You're going to do great. So give yourself that 30% margin of error that you're not going to be perfect. Okay, those times you are going to fail. You're going to thrive. You're going to learn. You're going to become more resilient. But let it go and allow yourself to make mistakes. So I have to remind myself, and that's part of the self-compassion experience, that okay, well, that's my 30%. That's the part where I'm growing and I'm failing, and great, like you said, Pontea, celebrating it. Like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I just failed.
I know. It's not always so easy, is it? Because you feel sad sometimes, but
consciousness doesn't mean that you aren't going to fail, or your awareness isn't going to protect you from failing. It's just going to get you in touch with your moment. I mean, that's what awareness is doing. I don't know. I think sometimes I equate it with, because I'm aware, I'm going to prevent something from happening. But that's not always the case.
No. So, completely agree. Exactly.
Well, thank you so much, ladies. Ali Folz, for more information about Ali's work, like I said, she's an author and a conscious parent. You can visit her website. And Pontea June, thank you so much for joining us in the studio.
Thank you so much. This was so much fun. Really,
your voice,
so inspiring.
your presence.
Thank you, Dr. Nelly.
Love you all.
Yes.
Ali, was so nice seeing you.
Nice to meet you, Pontea.